everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Archives with Adam and Fab. Today, I got legendary boxing referee Tony Weeks joining me. Tony, how are we doing today?
I'm fine. How you doing?
Hey, not too bad. It's a hot Sunday. It's been crazy over here in the Seattle area, so trying to cool off a
It's a
little
little
bit.
warm. Yeah, it's a little
Yeah.
warm here.
And what area did you say?
I said it's a little warm here in Vegas.
Oh yeah. It's not normal for us in April to have 80-degree weather, so
Hmm.
it's different. So Tony, we all know you as a legendary boxing referee. There's an iconic photo of you on the internet covered in blood. You've appeared in a few movies, and then also you've been officiating since 1994. Is there anything you would like to add to that for people that may not know who Tony Weeks is?
Well, yeah. First of all, yeah, I've been blessed to do what I do, um, and growing up in Brooklyn, New York. Somebody told me I'll be doing what I'm doing today. I was like, man, you're crazy, But
Mm.
things happen, and we're blessed. Like I said, we're blessed to do what we do. But also, I'm a performer. I sing. We have a R&B group that we perform different functions and around town, and so I do that also.
I'll have to peep that. I'll have to definitely take a listen. I love music. Music's a big part of my life. So I hear you got a nickname from Stitch. You know Jacob Stitch Duran.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. He said, ask you about your name, Kilo.
Yeah. That we go back on that one.
Yeah. He was telling me about it because his wife was asking, man, is he speaking Spanish? And then he was like, no, like not right here. You can't punch below the belt or anything like that. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Uh,
So
yeah.
oh, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, yeah. No, it's we have a little running joke, between us, and uh, I was discovered, so to speak, by one of the legendary trainers, Beto Martinez. He passed away some years back, and as a tribute to him, when he passed away, I decided, hey, let me. When I give the instructions in the middle of the ring, I'll do one line, a couple lines in Spanish, and uh, what had happened was when I got to uh, letting them know where the belt line was, said there, a kilo, instead of the regular Spanish word, and so we had a little running joke between us and stuff. But he corrected me, so I'm good.
There you go. And you do speak some Spanish, right?
Well, just a little bit, like I say,
Yeah.
you're not enough for a conversation.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So the main question you probably get asked a lot is how did you get into reffing? I mean, obviously it began for you somewhere, right? So how
Yes.
how did you come up with, hey, this is where I want to be. Boxing is where my heart's at.
Well, boxing was always with me, and I grew up, during the Ali era, uh, and a lot of the great fighters of that era.
Mm.
The Hearns, Duran, Leonard, and uh, 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 a lot of the great Latin fighters, Pino Cuevas. Just so many great champs: Alexis Arguello, Roberto Duran, uh, and I was always into boxing. I always loved the sport. At the time, I was when I just mentioned Beto Martinez is one of the trainers. At the time, I was working as an athletic director in the federal prison system, and I decided to bring some fighters up, to have a little exhibition on the yard. So I set the ring up there in the yard, and the fighters came up, and we set up the exhibition there, and the fighters got in and started boxing, sparring, and it dawned on me like, wow, man, I didn't get a referee, and uh, just out of curiosity at the time, I asked the trainer, Beto, hey, you mind if I get up there and, referee? He says, no, go ahead. And I got up there I started refereeing the fight, and instantly I fell in love with it. It's like, wow, this is cool. I like this. Make a long story short, what Beto did at the end of the show, he asked me if I ever done that before. I said no. He says, well, I think you should look into it because you have good natural movements. And actually, he took it a step further and called the athletic commission at the time when it was in Phoenix, Arizona, and hey, give this man a shot, and the rest is history.
There you go. And was this all in New York?
No, this was in Phoenix, Arizona. I was
in Arizona.
Phoenix, Arizona at the time.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's pretty awesome. Before all of that, I mean, growing up in Brooklyn, New York, I mean, I finally got my first taste of New York this last summer, and I tell you, man, I loved it. Was there anything else that you were doing before all of that? Playing any sports? Were you focused on academics and wanted to go to school for anything?
Yeah, growing up in the inner city, or any inner city for that matter, is rough. But sports was an outlet for me. I played football, and I ran track, and also did martial arts. So I was always into some type of athletic activity, which kept me from the streets, and really. To this day, I always consider myself an athlete, and working out and keeping in condition, it was a lifetime thing for me. So, yeah, I had those activities that really helped me, in my childhood growing up in the inner cities in New York and Brooklyn.
For sure. And I mean, I've always known New York to be like a basketball city, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, I went to Rutgers, shot some hoops over there. I mean, Rutgers legendary, but there's a lot of big name athletes that have come out of New York. So that's
absolutely. Yeah. New York is definitely known for basketball.
For sure. And music. I mean, it's amazing out there. I loved it. Can't wait to get back. So, how did you prepare for your first ever boxing match? I mean, we're talking besides like penitentiary, the federal prisons and stuff like that. Like when you actually got into your first boxing match, how did you prepare for all of that?
Well, like I said, at the time, when I was, like I said, discovered by Beto Martinez, I was a natural at it, by me watching boxing and emulating the Richard Steeles and the Mills Lane and the Larry Hazards, when I watched them, how they would referee a fight. I didn't, really understand a lot of the rules and regulations, but like I said, I just had a natural tone for it when I got into the ring. Like I say, I was just ready for it. This is something that I wanted to do. This is something, like I say, that I fell in love with instantly. So, it really came natural to me.
And you just kept pushing through with it, and here we are. So,
right there.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, and that's kind of how it is. Like once you find your passion, you just keep pushing for it. And that's kind of how, for me, how I got into this whole, wanting to do a podcasting is because I'm really relatable to a lot of people. I could relate to a lot of people myself. I hear I'm very personable, things like that. So it's just conversation can flow and things like that. But I mean, growing up, after high school, I got involved with just concerts and music and just meeting a lot of high profile people. But even then, you're Tony Weeks, a legendary referee, but you're also Tony Weeks outside of all of that. You had to start somewhere, and you are just a normal human just as well. So, you know what I mean?
Absolutely. Tony Weeks first.
Exactly. So when it comes to boxing matches, do you like athletes, they watch film, and things like that. Do you study these boxers to see if you have maybe a dirty fighter or something along those lines?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. You get familiar with a fighter's style, the mannerisms, so, you're aware of what they might do. You don't do it to a point where, you overreact on a fighter or a situation. No, but you're just aware of what this fighter is accustomed to doing, or how their style of fighting, or whether they're southpaw or they're orthodox. Do they foul a lot? Do they hit low? Or do they hold a lot? What type of fighter they are? Can they take a punch? So I study films from fighters, and not necessarily the fighters that I'm doing a lot of times, but all fighters. Just to be familiar with different styles.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we just watched that Davis and Garcia fight, and I mean, we watch boxing. I mean, are we boxing heads and follow it religiously? No, but I mean, we seen Davis hugging up a lot and things like that. But obviously, it was really a part of the game plan. And you could correct me if I'm wrong, if that's something I don't 100% understand. But I know you were actually at that card as well. So
yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Like I say, fighters, do certain things in the ring, maybe when they're hurt or when they're tired or maybe to disrupt their opponent's rhythm. So there's a lot of techniques they do in there. But, as a referee, it's our job to enforce anything that's illegal or given an unfair advantage.
For sure. Yeah, no, it was very crazy how that fight came out, but we were definitely rooting for Team Davis. So talk to me the steps of preparing for a fight, the day before, the day of, and even after.
Well, like I said, as soon as I get an assignment, I'm okay. Let me look up and see who these fighters are. If they're not known, if I don't know them. But, leading up to a fight, especially like the day before the fight, I don't really do any heavy activity. I eat well, get a lot of carbs in you, so you can have that energy. I try to, from my, it goes back to my days of playing sports and playing football. When I played football, I was a running back, in the offense, and the coach used to, tell us and have us, like the day before the fight, stay off your feet, save your legs. So I've learned that, coming up and playing football, playing different sports. So day before the fight, I'm staying off saving my legs, staying off my feet, getting the proper rest. Going to bed early, like I say, eating good meals. I'll get up early the day of the fight and eat a nice big breakfast, and then after that, I don't eat anything until after the fight. So you just mentally relaxing and preparing yourself, to get in that ring and do battle.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, obviously there's a lot that could happen. I mean, you don't want to miss something and then it just make a huge outcome to a fight, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, that can make a lot of people upset. So, I mean, you've officiated some pretty great fights, if you ask me. You probably get asked these questions all the time, but is there one that you really truly enjoyed that you ref for?
Well, there's always that one fight that stands out. I remember my mentor, Richard Steele, told me, he says, referees can go throughout an entire career and not have a signature fight. I was blessed to have a signature fight. To this day, I mean, I've done some great fights with some historical fights with some historical champions, but to this day, nothing stands out more to me than the first Corrales-Castillo fight. It was a 2005 fight of the year and round of the year. And I was so blessed to be a part of it. It's in the top 10 greatest fights in the history of boxing. And that so far in my career has always stood out above all.
Okay. How about one? I wouldn't say like not necessarily enjoy it. Let's say tough. Is there anything, because tough is like, that could be taken in many concepts, right? Like somebody that you studied and they may not have, performed the way you thought would have happened, right? So is there one that you would say that is tough that you've done?
Oh, most definitely. I had a few tough ones, but one that always stands out to me when I did the rematch with Bernard Hopkins and Antoine Eccles. At that time, that was my first big name fight when I got started here in in Las Vegas. And anybody knows Bernard's style, he's gonna test you. He's gonna put you through the mill. And it challenged me as a referee. It challenged my skills, and actually, it made me a better referee. Because it showed me what I could do when I'm in a tough fight, when I'm in a tough situation. Because you want to, you try to be, and you want to be fair to both fighters. And doing the Bernard Hopkins fight, he's going to really, really, really test you, and that really stood out to me. Actually, I did Bernard Hopkins twice. The second time, it was the rematch with Roy Jones Jr. Mm-hmm. And the same thing happened. But I was a lot more prepared for it at the second time around. But those tough fights, really shows you, what you can do as a referee. And it's no different than a fighter being in a tough fight. You want to test your skills. You want to know how you can do in these crucial situations. So, that's the fights that stood out for me. But it was a plus for me in terms of my development in my career as a referee.
There you go. Is there a fight you wish you could have done officiating for? I mean, and that you never got to. We're talking like even past. We could talk present.
I would have loved to, if I was old enough at the time, would have loved to referee the first Ali Frazier fight. That was truly an event. To this day, I've never felt the excitement and anticipation of a championship fight like that was. I was so blessed to be around in that era, and they didn't have back then the Showtime or HBO 24-hour access leading up to fights like they do today. But that started it all because that particular fight, wars actually stopped to watch this fight. The whole entire world actually stopped to watch this fight. And at the fight in Madison Square Garden, New York City, you had more celebrities at these fights than regular fans. So that would be one fight that if I had to back in time or wish I could be a part of, that would be the fight.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I've gotten to educate my girlfriend quite a bit on some boxing legends. I mean, we were sitting at a movie theater watching a movie, and then the trailer for George Foreman came on. She's like, George Foreman was a boxer? It's like, yeah. She was like, I thought he only made grills. I'm like, no, so we're gonna go see that movie eventually. But she had to learn that day that George Foreman did not just make grills.
No, he was a boxer.
For sure. Legendary as well.
Yes.
So earlier in our program here, I mentioned to everybody that there's that viral pic you covered in blood. It was the Bodu Jack fight. I mean, you're covered in blood. It's crazy. You would think that there was a war going on, right? But I mean, there was a war going on in that ring.
Yeah.
What was going on in your head during that time? Seeing that cut, all the blood.
Wow. Yes, that was Badu Jack and Maurice Brown. It was the co-main event to the Pacquiao-Broner fight. And yes, to this day, that picture is just still going viral. And I think, when you really look at it, it really depicts boxing. And like they say, when you see that headline, you could play different sports, but you don't play boxing. During that fight, it was an accidental clash of heads, and Badu sustained a cut on the forehead. And when you have any type of cut on the forehead, there's so many blood vessels in it, you're going to really bleed profusely. You know what I mean? And it was a bad cut. If the only good thing, if you would, about that cut, it was right in the middle of the forehead, and the blood was running down the sides of his nose, so it wasn't really getting in his eye. But it was a lot of blood. And I remember going over to the corner between rounds, and then I noticed like a lot of photographers facing my way and taking pictures. And I'm like, what's going on? And then when I looked down, that's when I noticed all the blood that I had on my shirt, and I was like, wow, but it really depicts, a warrior spirit, to really go on no matter what. Like I say, it was a bad cut. And I took him over to the doctor twice, and the doctor cleared it. He can go. He finished the fight. He lost by decision, but yeah, I've experienced cuts in my career, but nothing like that in terms of the cut itself and all the blood.
Yeah, no, it was crazy because I was sitting there, I was talking to Stitch, and we were talking about that and cuts and stuff. Because obviously he's the cut man, right? You're the officiator. He's a cut man, so he was telling me all about that stuff, and he was just like, yeah, no, that could have been really bad, but
yeah.
Why didn't they stop it? Why wouldn't the doctor stop it? Just because it wasn't?
But like I said, I don't know, what was his reason. I mean, he's a medical doctor, so he knows and understands what he's looking at. But like I say, from what I can gather, the blood wasn't getting in his eye, wasn't blinding him. It was just running down the sides of his nose, but it was just a lot of blood. But yeah, I guess when the doctor looked at it, he wasn't in any danger of any danger period if he went on. And it was just one of those things that one of those rare incidents that happens in boxing. When you're dealing with cuts.
Gotcha. So if you don't mind me asking, where is that shirt to this day?
Oh, I got it hanging up. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
no, I like that answer.
I may put it in one of the Hall of Fames one of these days or something, but I got it. I have.
That would be one to see. That's for sure.
Absolutely.
No, that's iconic in its own. It's a part of history, if you ask me. So
yes. Yeah.
So when it comes to fighters, nobody ever wants to have a fight called. What's the process of that? When you see something, the doctor sees something. Has there ever been a time where a fight has been called that maybe you didn't agree on, or that was just stopped too early?
Well, first of all, I would never go against a doctor. They're the medical experts, and they know and see what they're looking at. But there's several factors in there, in stopping a fight.
Mm-hmm.
If a fighter's taking excess punishment and not really defending himself or fighting back effectively, or when they get knocked down, how do they go down? Do they just go flat on their face? Are they struggling to get up? So there's different factors in there that we look at as referees in determining when we're going to stop a fight or not.
There you go. And then that's kind of something I was going to lead to, because I asked a couple of my friends, if they had any questions for you, because they are into the fight game and things like that. And my buddy Joe was asking, he said, what exactly are you looking for during a fight? I know that could be kind of a loaded question. But, when it comes to, and I think you kind of answer that with the questions with the film. You're watching all kinds of things like the southpaws to see what kind of things that they do.
Yes. A fighter's history, you understand. Like, for example, the late Arturo Gatti, and Mickey Ward, those guys can take punishment. Those guys can, fight back. So and understand their style. But the thing about what makes our job difficult as a referee, our number one priority is to protect the fighter. And a lot of times you have to protect a fighter from themselves. They're true warriors. They want to go out on their shield. They rather go out on their shield. But, we as referees, we have to really be in tune with that a fighter doesn't, get hurt in the ring.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Are there like so he also asks, is there like certain rounds that you pay more attention for or to?
No, no, there's the same amount of attention I pay for. I pay to each round, but it also depends on what's happening in a round. What
Mhm.
happens in the previous round. Uh, uh, like I say, for example, if a fighter is starting to take punishment, but it's not enough for me to stop the fight, I may go to
Mhm.
the corner and just warn the fighter, "Hey, are you okay? You're starting to take punishment." So if it continues, I may have to stop the fight. So you're
Mhm.
preparing a fighter in the corner and the trainers, of what you're looking at.
Mhm.
Uh, and it also depends on, like I say, the previous round. If a fighter is constantly fouling, okay, in my mind, this next round comes around, and if the fighter does the same thing, I might have to take a point. So there's a lot of things that run through your mind, but you as a referee, you view all rounds the same in that manner.
Yeah, no, it definitely is a lot. I mean, I tip my hat to you for sure because I mean, everything we've been talking to up to this point, I'm just like, man, that just seems like so much. But you've been doing it so long. I mean, last time I knew you had over 830 something fights under your belt.
Mhm.
I think so. I mean, you've definitely been doing it for quite some time. So
Oh yeah.
you know what you're doing. You know what you're looking
Yeah.
for.
Yeah.
So I even got with my buddy. His name is NSO Mike. He actually mentioned that he met you quite a few times in the past. And yeah, he was like, man, you should definitely ask him because we were talking about fights, you and I. Um, fight stopping early. He said, "How did you feel about the ref stoppage to the Cesar Chavez fight versus Meldrick Taylor,
Mhm.
being that it stopped with 8 seconds left? What would you have done?"
Yeah. Well, fans have to understand, first of all, understand the rules
Mhm.
about
Mhm.
that they may not be aware of. There are 3 minutes in a round,
Mhm.
and whatever happens within those 3 minutes, if a fighter cannot continue, if a referee deems that a fighter cannot continue within that 3 rounds, in that 3 minutes, uh, uh, they have to stop the fight. So time is not a factor in it. It doesn't matter if there's a minute left, 30 seconds left, 15 seconds left, 5 seconds left, 2 seconds left. If a referee determines that a fighter cannot go on, they have to stop that fight because all it takes is one punch to really injure a fighter. And when
Mhm.
you look at that particular fight, Mildred Taylor wasn't the same after that fight. Uh, and when you really look up to the build up to that last round, even though Mildred Taylor was winning, I believe on two of the scorecards, uh, uh, he was out punching Chavez, hand speed combinations. But what Chavez was doing in each round was landing the one or two hard punches that adds up as the rounds progress. And you could see it in that last round that Taylor was kind of wearing down uh, with those hard punches that, like I say, that adds up. When you look at that sequence, when Taylor went down, a couple of things happened. When he went down and he got up, Richard Steele asked him twice, "Are you okay?" And when you look at that, Taylor's not really focusing on Richard because he was distracted by his cornerman, Lou Duva, who got up on the ring apron. So he never really looked at Richard and never really answered Richard definitively. And when Richard asked him twice after the second time, Richard determined that uh, the fight needed to be stopped. Now, the argument with a lot of fans is, man, there's only 2 seconds left. You could have let that go. Maybe, but when you really look at it, if he would have let it go, he would be actually cheating for the other guy because like I say, if there was a minute left in that round or 2 minutes, whatever, and he stopped the fight, it would have been no argument. But people don't see it that way, and this is some of the things that makes our job difficult as a referee, because people don't really understand what's really happening. Yeah, he could have let it go, and then maybe the fight would have ended, and Mildred would have won on a split decision. But is this one of those tough calls that a referee has to make? And you just have to be fair, with the fighters when you're in there and doing the fight, And it was one of those tough times. Yeah, I would never want to be in that situation, having to make a difficult decision like Richard, had to make. But like I said, you have to be fair when you really look at it. Okay, when you really analyze it, when you really break it down, Richard did the right thing.
For sure. No, and it makes a lot of sense, because I mean, I'm going to touch on that most recent card in the boxing match with Davis and Garcia, the co-main event. I forget the kid's name. I think it's Moriel Jr. I mean, that kid, he knocked that guy down. He gets back up, and I mean, this is with any fight. You could see somebody get knocked down, and that's like UFC, right? They get back up and they could compose themselves, right? And then the fight could go any other way. But I mean, I think really important, like you said, is the fighter health. And that's kind of something I wanted to ask you about, because I know Stitch has a campaign that he's kind of running with, to try to help, MMA and boxing. And I know Jake Paul is doing that as well, where they're trying to get these fighters healthcare, because I mean, when it's all said and done, they're not going to be the same. I mean, all the hits that they take, I mean, the body damage that they get,
Yeah.
MMA, you got guys breaking bones, guys these guys are beat up when it's all said and done.
Yeah. And when you taking any type of hit to the head, there's always some trauma.
Exactly.
There's always going to be some trauma. I mean, fighters can come out, after a tough fight, and they're talking well, and but there's some damage that's happening in there, and like you say, it accumulates over the course of their career. Some fighters take punishment in training when they're sparring. When you really look at it, the human head is not really made to be pound around in that manner. But yeah, and that's why I like to say boxing is a tough sport. Fighting is a tough sport, period.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I mean, and it kind of even relates to football with CTE. I mean, you got some of the greats going through some of the things that they did, and unfortunately, they're not here because of the things that they've had to battle. I used to play football myself, played a nose guard and center, and we had a guy that used to just lead with his head all the time. And I don't know if I had some concussions at some point, but I know he did. That's for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we see that nowadays with CTE, right? Like, you got guys taking hits all the time. Tua Tagovailoa, that guy, he took a couple headshots this year, and now they're re-imaging the helmets.
Yeah. And, like I say, fans, people have to realize, fighters or any type of athlete, that's in a sport, in a contact sport, the sport that they're playing or the sport that they're participating in, that's only a short period of time. They have the rest of their lives to live and enjoy what they have accomplished in their particular sport. And, that's important that, the fighters get to enjoy that, the aftermath of the sport that they're, competing in, and to live a comfortable life and enjoy the fruits of your labor.
Yeah. And I mean, we've seen that with that Latino kid. I think he was like 20 or 21. Now he's in a wheelchair. He's unfortunately a vegetable. He's not going to ever fight again. He's never going to live a normal life. He's not going to have a family. I mean, he was probably the breadwinner for his family. So
it's tough. Yeah. Either way.
Yeah. So I want to touch with you on like fighter personalities. You know, we see a lot of these guys. A lot of people see Floyd Mayweather. Oh, he's flashy with his money. He seems like a jerk, so on and so forth. I've had the pleasure to meet Floyd at Dre's in Vegas, and I thought he was a really cool guy. I mean, how do these fighters' personalities? I mean, you've worked really close with them. Is it how they appear on TV, or is it exactly like how I see?
No, I'm fortunate enough to come in contact with these fighters, you know, behind the camera, so to speak, or with no camera, excuse me, no cameras around, and they're just normal, cool human beings. You know, I've never met somebody, you know, who was a jerk or maybe the persona that they're trying to project on TV that, you know, that's how they are. No, everybody who I've come in contact with, you know, really down to earth, cool, you know, human beings, and just very humble, and just regular people.
There you go. And like, did you ever meet Conor McGregor when you did that crossover fight with Floyd?
No, I've never met Conor McGregor personally, but I've been around him, you know, like I say, when there's no cameras or on and stuff, and like I say, just a regular guy. Yeah,
that's crazy. That's crazy. How do you feel about like influencer boxing and celebrity boxing? How do you feel about that, being that you've been around long enough to see many different things of boxing? And how do you feel about that?
I mean, everybody has a right to make a living, and if it sells, it sells. You know, why not? You know, yeah, it's a part of or a spinoff from regular boxing, so to speak. And no, I mean, yeah, you have fans. And hey, if it like I say, if it sells, it sells. You know, I have no problem. You know, no gripe with, you know, someone making a living and doing what they love to do and doing what they like to do.
For sure. I'm becoming a little bit more open-minded with that, just because I'm like, man, you know, people just trying to make a quick bag, but, you know, more power to them. If they could do it, pull it off, then I guess do it and pull it off. Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So over the years, I mean, you've been in the game for a long time. Has boxing made any changes? Have you seen things that need to be changed? Things that you would like to see changed?
Well, yeah, you know, the sport is, you know, like any sport, you know, constantly evolving. The fighters are constantly evolving, getting bigger, getting stronger, getting faster. And one of the things that I like, and one of the things we do here in Vegas, we have the instant replay, which helps a lot, you know, in determining, you know, to make a crucial call that maybe can have an outcome on a fighter's career or the fighter or the fight itself. Because the bottom line is getting it right. When you see the other sports, the football is doing it, basketball is doing it. You know, it's about the bottom line is about getting it right. To give you an example, is like when I was doing a fight and the fighter got hit, and he didn't go all the way down, but he went down where, you know, if the glove touches the ground, touches the canvas, it's a knockdown, or any part of the body that touches the canvas, if they hit with a legitimate punch, it scored a knockdown. And from my angle, I was at a perfect angle to see it, but I couldn't see how far the glove was from the canvas. But I called it a knockdown. But when they reviewed it, it was like centimeters off. You know, man. It wasn't even touching. So there's no way you could see that from the naked eye. And so, you know, the call was reversed, and you know, didn't have any outcome on the fight, period, either way. But it just, you know, having that extra tool really helps in getting it right. And that's the bottom line, that, you know, we want to get it right. Anytime you have the human element involved, we're not perfect. We're going to make mistakes in there. The action is so fast in there, you know, you're not going to see everything. So when you have these tools, so to speak, to help you and getting it right and making the correct call. Yeah, that's one of the things that I really look at, and I'm glad we have that here in Vegas. The instant replay, and so yeah, it's one of those tools that really helps out. Because like I say, the bottom line is you want to get it right.
That's for sure. And I mean, I know you stepped into the MMA world and you've done judging and officiating there. So, I mean, how does that experience compare to boxing? Does it feel natural as well?
I'm sorry.
I was saying, does it feel natural as well, being that you've had the officiating experience in boxing when you stepped over into that?
Well, like I say, I started in martial arts at a young age, so I understood the art, and I understand combat. I understand fighting. Period. I don't referee the MMA. I judge the MMA.
Oh, okay.
But from a judging standpoint, and from my experience as a referee, I could see certain things that's happening in the octagon. For a fighter, okay, I can see the momentum changing.
Mm-hmm.
I can see, the fighter's demeanor has changed. This fighter's, getting ready to be stopped, or So there's my experience as a referee comes into play where I can recognize what's happening, in that ring.
Okay. Well, I definitely appreciate you sharing that with me. And I know we're getting ready to hit our time here. I just wanted to ask, we always ask for a piece of advice at the end of our program, for anybody listening. So being that you come from like the inner city and things like that, I'm sure you've gone through your struggles and gotten to where you're at now, right? What kind of advice would you have for people wanting to, get into the business that you're in? Obviously, times are changing. More people are going to want to come up, and then that's where the younger generation is going to come in.
Absolutely. Well, first thing, understand what you're getting into. Okay, understanding the pros and cons, the good, the bad, and having a respect for the sport. I've had people come up to me, man, I want to be a referee. I want to be famous like you. I want to make a lot of money. You're looking at it in the wrong way. All that stuff is the icing on the cake. But you have to have a respect for the sport. You have to have a respect for the fighters, and knowing what you need to do, understanding the rules and regulations, and even more importantly, how to apply those rules and regulations. I view life in period, like the weather. There's going to be a lot of sunny days, but there's going to be some rainy days. But you can go through those rainy days, but the sun will come out eventually, and you will have some sunshiny days and beautiful days. So just know what you're getting into, and know that the bad times don't outweigh the good times. And the bottom line is, you're always, in any profession that you're in, you're always going to be tested, and you want to be tested because you want to, like I said before previously, you want to know, how I can do in a tough situation, what I can do as a referee in these situations that are very critical, like the Mildred Taylor Chavez situation. So just understand what you're getting into, and know that there's going to be some rainy days, but the sun will eventually come out.
There you go. No, I definitely appreciate that. And I mean, it even applies to us, with everything that we're doing. There's a lot of podcast channels out there, and we're always trying to perfect our craft and stand out from the next. So,
yeah.
Like I said, I'm sure you heard a lot of the questions that I asked, and we kind of try to change it up so that way it's not the same boring thing that you're used to. But.
Well, you know what? First of all, I want to thank you for this platform, and it's always good to have this platform that the fans need to hear from us and understand what we're thinking and what we're doing, during the course of a fight, just to educate the people. So I want to thank you for having me on this platform and allow me to express myself as a referee. Thank you.
For sure. Now, I've seen you throughout the years, most recently in Creed 3. And so, I thought it'd be nice to take a chance and message you and see. So I'm glad we finally got it going after all the little, steps we had to take to get to here. But I definitely appreciate it, Tony, and I hope you have a great rest of your weekend.
Thank you. You do the same, my brother. Appreciate you.
Yes, sir. Take care.
All right, take care.